I want to talk for a minute about kind of getting started in dog training, right? Because I've been getting a lot of messages and emails lately from people looking to do exactly that, right? They're interested in dog training, right? We had a couple people like, whether they did, I think a lot of people get the kickstart when they'll do training with their dog somewhere, right? They'll have a really great experience.
Yeah.
They see how much that impacts their relationship with their dog, how much better their life is with their dog.
Yeah.
And they think, I want to be able to help people with this. You know what I mean? And that's awesome, right? Like, I want everybody to be involved in this kind of stuff. I want everybody to grow in this industry, obviously. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, do it the wrong way, though, right? So a lot of people, they'll have a great experience with their dog, and they'll have their dog super well trained, and then immediately will start trying to help other people with their dogs, right? Which is such a tricky way to get into it. You know what I mean? Because so much of dog training is not about working with your dogs, but it's working with so many different owners, and it's having experienced enough hurdles and enough issues with dogs that you know how to adjust to every scenario you could be presented with. You know what I mean? And everybody has a learning curve, obviously, right? You're inevitably, when you do start professionally training dogs, going to experience things you haven't experienced before and need to kind of adjust through it and all that kind of stuff. But in the end of the day, there are a lot of things you could do to help you get so much more leverage with stuff. You know what I mean? So that you're positioned to help people better and not ever run into a situation where you become like, somebody that kind of goes from I trained my dog to I'm a dog trainer to I help people to the best of my knowledge, but don't really have much experience as far as how to grow past that, right? So I want to kind of talk about how I got into dog training, and I want to talk about ways that I typically recommend other people do so, right? Okay. So I've been training dogs for about 10 years now, right? And when I say training dogs for about 10 years now, I mean my entire learning from the standpoint of when I started taking my dog through dog training and then working for somebody and then owning my own company, right? Has been about a 10-year journey, right?
Yep.
Basically, how that worked is the first year I was just a dog owner, right? I was doing the same thing a lot of these people do, which is I hired a dog trainer. I actually hired about 3 or 4 different dog trainers and worked with a lot of different people, right? Wow. All of different styles, right? I think that was an important thing right off the rip is I experienced the old school dog training, right? I experienced the force-free dog training. I experienced the balanced dog training and variations of all of those, obviously, right? And I tried all of the above with my dog, right, Vera, when I got her, right? Yep. I worked with her every single day. I was constantly trying to learn. I was constantly trying to improve my relationship with her, take that training to the next level, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So I did that for about a year, and I got fairly good at it. I really enjoy, and when I say I got fairly good at it, I got fairly good at it with my dog, right? And I was really enjoying that process, right? From there, I had an opportunity to start working for somebody that I had hired for dog training initially, right? And I worked there for about 2 years, right? Over the course of the 2 years, right? It was an interesting evolution, right? Because there were some ups to it and there were some big downs to it, and all of which were great learning opportunities that I think shaped who I am today, right? From a dog training standpoint, right? So early on in it, things were I had a lot of guidance, you know what I mean? And guidance came in the form of a lot of different things. It came in the form of like one-on-one training. It came on the form of having access to tons of dogs that I could work with, right? And access to dogs that I could experiment with. But the biggest way that I had guidance when I started working for somebody was that person got me connected with so many good trainers across the country. And connected in the form of actually introducing me to them and connected in the form of just exposing me to their content, the things they were putting out, right? And I absorbed all of that like a sponge, right? Yeah. I was constantly watching videos and this and that. And because I had this mix of the guidance of these are all of these awesome things happening on in the industry, and in addition to that, I had the access to dogs where I could take those things I was learning and kind of experiment with those things with dogs I had access to. I was able to like exponentially grow from a standpoint of like if I would run into issues with something or this or that, I could try things and figure out with each individual case what the right recipe was going to be with stuff. right?
Yeah.
So that was really cool, obviously. About a year into it, I would say, is where things kind of went south from the standpoint of like we basically had like the business dumped on us, right? So the guy that owned the company didn't really he just kind of like his shtick was he would kind of hire people and be very engaged with them for a while and then basically have them just kind of run things for him, right? So because of that, same deal. Learned a lot, but learned a lot through a lot of mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So same deal. Had the full control to be able to experiment and see both different ways of training dogs, but in addition to that, different ways of running the business and different ways of dealing with clients and handling issues and this and that and blah, 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 right? So did that for a while, obviously. Learned quite a bit, right? Built a pretty good clientele, because he wasn't very active with things. Really kind of developed a name for myself because I was kind of the face of a lot of the things going on from a training standpoint there, right? Did that for about 2 years. At the end of those 2 years, kind of decided we got to do this on our own. Me and another guy that I worked with there decided to start our first dog training company, right? So Heights Canine when I started it. Did that for, I think that was 2015, maybe, something like that. Did that for like, I think 3.5 years, right? Over the course of those 3.5 years, same deal. At this point, we had so much experience with dealing with all sorts of different scenarios, right? From the standpoint of serious scenarios, dog bites, and dealing with, client issues and stuff like that. And having the ability to kind of figure all that kind of stuff out with proper guidance, we were kind of ready to start our own thing from there, right? Did that. Had a staff that worked for us. We built our daycare department. We built our boarding department. We built our training department, stuff like that. And, kind of continued with that until I decided to leave and start my own company, which was Miracle Canine, right? And then we've been doing that ever since. It's been like 4.5 years now, right?
Wow.
So it's been a big journey. And I think that the important takeaway from it that I try to put on other dog trainers, right, that are getting started in the industry is though my quote unquote working for somebody was a kind of a wild ride and a strange experience from the standpoint of like we did get the guidance and I did get, introduced to new things and stuff like that. But I was given a lot of freedom to be able to kind of make mistakes and grow and stuff like that. I think that a lot of people are skipping that step. You know what I mean? Skipping that step of being able to work with somebody that has had the experience and made a lot of the mistakes that could really cut some of that learning curve off of things for you. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big part I want to push on people is if you want to get started in this industry, right? I think one of the best things that you could do is figure out some way where before you start charging and taking money from people to train their dogs, where you have had so much experience in working with animals and working with training owners a lot, right? And preferably, again, with somebody that can coach you through some of the mistakes you're making to help you avoid some of the big issues that we experienced along the way.